A very warm morning, afternoon, or night, depending on wherever you are. So, this presentation is part of the research article that I have undertaken as part of the East Asian Management course of my current MBA in IIM Shillong. So, I would be discussing on the centralization of a decentralized network in the coming slides. So, moving forward. Okay, so I'll be telling something about the Bitcoin. So in 2008, Satoshi Nakamoto published the Bitcoin white paper using cryptography to create the world's first decentralized currency. Since its creation, Bitcoin's popularity has grown substantially, reaching market capitalization of around 100 billion USD. As it continues to attract uh, interest from technology enthusiasts, black markets, and legitimate markets also. But as you can see in the slide, so 2009 was the year when the first block was mined. Then in 2010, we have the first transaction on the Bitcoin network and the first Bitcoin exchanges. In 2017, the Bitcoin processed the $3,000 mark. 2018, the Bitcoin's price is at 654.278, and coming to 2020, it has even reached that level. I mean, Bitcoin is going on a relatively very high scale as of now. So, despite this popularity, the security of Bitcoin is still not fully understood. Many serious attacks have been theorized by researchers, but have not yet come to pass. So, leading to the adage that Bitcoin is secure in practice but not in theory. So some analysts also approach this strange characterization of Bitcoin by saying that the security model of Bitcoin must consider the socio-economic and political forces in addition to the underlying cryptography. So the decentralization aspect of this network poses unique socio-political challenges. The network was so designed such that the operations and the maintenance task of the network was distributed across transactions. Now, this particular distribution is actually done by peers known as miners. The miners are kept honest based on small fees or commission. So, I'll be covering this technical stuffs in this particular slides. So, as I was saying, that the miners are kept honest by getting a small transaction fee out of the transaction that they help process through. Now, this transaction fee is actually generated by the network and then transferred to an address of the miner's choosing. This address would be prefixed, and this generation of the bitcoins is the only way through which bitcoins are generated in the network. So, if you had observed or if you had tracked the trajectory of Bitcoin, you might have seen that at the initial stages, the miners were getting more rewards, and then the rewards dwindled as the time progressed. So, as of December 2020, I mean, we have around 80% of the total hash power of the network by six major mining companies, and five of them being located in China. So, mining requires a very specific kind of computing power to generate maximum returns out of the work that the miners are doing. So these kind of computers known as ASICs are basically huge computers with, uh, basically they are CPUs with huge computational power, only and only dedicated for this particular thing, that is maintenance and upkeep of the network, which is putting the transactions through. Now, you and me, we both can become a miner. I mean, we can put our PC into work, and then we can dedicate a part of the PC's computational power to the network. But then our PC would not be able to mine so much as these professional miners. So what they do is that they form aggregate known as mining pools in which they share the computational powers and then they share the rewards also. So let us get into the technical stuff. So Bitcoin basically consists of four things, which are transactions, consensus protocol, communications network, and then what are the usage of Bitcoins also I'll be covering. So transactions is a transfer of value between Bitcoin wallets that gets included in the blockchain. So Bitcoin wallets keep a secret piece of data called a private key or seed, which is used to sign transactions, providing a mathematical proof that they have come from the owner of the wallet. Coming to the consensus protocol, now transactions in the blockchain are organized into a shared public ledger and implemented as a series of blocks. So this is done by the miners, and then each block holds a set of transactions, a timestamp, a nonce. So nonce is basically an arbitrary number which is assigned to each block. Then you have got also the hash of the previous block and other relevant protocol information. Miners collect the transactions, check their validity, organize them into blocks, and then publish them onto the network. So they are awarded for it by a special transaction, which is known as block rewards, as I previously discussed. So now what the miners are doing, so they are pooling their resources, and then whatever rewards are being gained, they are being sent to a pool manager who then allocates the rewards to members in proportion to the computational work they perform. Now coming to the communications network, what is it? Bitcoin uses a peer-to-peer broadcast network to announce and propagate transactions and blocks. So nodes in the communications network follow a set of rules to enhance performance and support the consensus protocol. For example, they will only forward new data once to prevent infinite propagation and will only relay valid data to prevent invalid blocks or transactions from being spread on the network. So, if anyone is able to censor the network, they can prevent blocks and transactions from spreading, right? So, thus to ensure the stability and fairness, Bitcoin requires actually a low latency, decentralized, uncensorable network. Now then coming to the usage of the Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is mostly used as a speculative asset, which holds value in the long run. So it is still remaining separate from the mainstream monetary system. Although in some parts of the world, wherein we have observed high inflation, Bitcoin has indeed come to the mainstream monetary system as a mainstream payment enhancer. Now, if you see the cases of Venezuela, so some citizens have converted rapidly inflating the bolivars, which is the national currency of Venezuela, into Bitcoin to store some of the value or purchase goods online. And mining also has become increasingly common as a source of income. So, in US also investment banks like Goldman Sachs and all are leading the way by first facilitating Bitcoin trading on other platforms and then offering their own Bitcoin derivative projects to clients. Now let us come to the major part as to why is China crucial to mining. So Bitcoin is rise began in China in 2013. So in the following years, Chinese exchanges grew to dominate the global exchange market, as shown by the relative share of Bitcoin exchange transactions executed in Chinese yuan versus other currencies. So mining pools managed by individuals in China have constitute over half of the total network hash power since 2015, and currently more hash power is located in China than in any country. So some of the estimates put the total hash power at 80% in the current scenario. So why are we even bothering about it? So let us go to the next slide. So I mean, you'd be asking, isn't it good? I mean, let us say, of course, cheap labor and then cheap resource cost are also in China, which makes it pretty viable for them, to get all their hash power and to upkeep of the network. So ultimately, at the end of the day, we just need the network to function, right? But then, uh, Bitcoin's core logic is that nobody will control more than 50% of the hash power. Why? I would be reducing that in the subsequent slides. So China, why? I mean, it is not good. Is that because the Chinese government exerts a huge regulatory authority on that whole network and on the miners especially, and through the miners it can exert uh, control over the whole network. Then they have the internet surveillance. You might have heard of Great Firewall, and which performs on-path surveillance and traffic filtering using deep packet inspection, which is DPI, and active probing of connection endpoints also. So as an on-path tool, the GFW can observe network traffic and then inject new packets, but it cannot prevent packets that have already been sent from reaching their destination. For more active traffic tampering, China operates a separate in-path tool known as the Great Cannon, which can inject malicious code into packets in transit and level denial of service attacks by redirecting traffic to a target also. Okay, so let us go to the next slide. So as I was saying before, these are some of the ways that China can influence. Then coming to the hash power. So around 74% of the hash power of the Bitcoin is now concentrated in the Chinese mining pools. Of course, the numbers are decreasing, but are not decreasing at a good extent. So pool miners cannot be directly controlled by China, right? But the managers are located within China and as such are subject to Chinese authorities. Because managers are responsible for assigning mining jobs and propagating completed blocks, they control the inputs and the outputs of the miners, which allows the Chinese authorities indirect control over that hash power, right? So, this is a significant share of the global hash rate, which is being controlled by one single country. But of course, the precise figures are still not yet known. Then there is well connected within the Bitcoin network. Why? Because which blocks reach consensus on the Bitcoin basically depends in part on how quickly they propagate through the network from their source, miner to the other peers. Now, if the Chinese government assumed domestic hash power, I mean the control of this whole hash power, the property would grant them an advantage in selecting blocks for the ledger, which is important for some kind of attacks. Right? So let us go to the threats that this is possessing. So now the threats are basically divided into the four parts. So ideological, then law, and then foreign economic disruption, and then increased hash power. So let me cover that one by one. Coming to the ideological opposition. So first, Bitcoin stands in ideological opposition to China's centralized governing philosophy. So they might be motivated to weaken or to destroy it, to make an ideological statement, right? For example, demonstrating the futility of a decentralized control paradigm. Virtually any violation of Bitcoin security access to achieve this goal as long as it is highly visible, right? Then coming to the law enforcement. So second, the government may attack the Bitcoin for the purpose of the law enforcement also. Why? Administrating and censorship would allow China to crack down on illicit uses of Bitcoin. Right? Now, the third part, China also has expressed huge distrust of Bitcoin. But they may still determine that increasing control over the system is beneficial. So by disrupting non-Chinese mining pools, especially those with significant hash power, which are now currently bringing the Chinese hash, percentage to or down, China could further increase the proportion of the hash power that they can and thus exert more influence over the Bitcoin. So it is a quid pro quo situation right now. Yeah. Since they control a huge percentage, they are in power to disrupt the other players, right? Then coming to the uh, fourth part, which is Bitcoin as it becomes more and more widely used and more, tightly integrated into global finances, it will become a possible vector for attacking foreign economies also, right? And to exert influence in a foreign country where Bitcoin is in use, China may aim to weaken or even totally destroy Bitcoin, right? So this could be done by targeting, specific users or miners for attack or by generally weakening the consensus to increase volatility to a breaking point. So what's the conclusion of this, right? So, I mean, we need to actually look into the core character of the network. So add the value and the economic utility of the Bitcoin has grown, so has the incentive to attack it. I mean, I singled out China for analysis because they are the most powerful potential adversary to Bitcoin. And I found that they have a variety of salient motives for attacking the system and a number of mature capabilities, both regulatory and technical, to carry out these attacks. I thank you all for your patient listening and would encourage you to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.